Good day, and welcome to episode 10 of Lockdown Theatre Entertainment for the Homebound. Today we are discussing a film that is one of my favorites. A film that is so I can't, there, much better. Welcome to Lockdown Theatre Entertainment for the Homebound. Today we are discussing a film that is one of my favorites. It is a film that is so visually stimulating and impressive, and if you can get past some of the questionable accents, then you're really in for a treat. I am talking about, of course, Bram Stoker's Dracula. So this film was released in 1992 and almost single-handedly rescued Francis Ford Coppola's American zoetrope from the precipice of extinction. And while it sticks fairly close to the Bram Stoker novel, from what I understand, the real draw here is the breathtaking production design. I mean, it is really a gorgeous film to watch. It was filmed on sound stages, so the look is very stagey and artificial, but combined with everything else in the film, it works as a cohesive whole. The colors are so vivid and rich and illustrative, and the lighting. This film was shot by legendary cinematographer Michael Ballhaus, and the way he and Coppola play with the lighting and play with shadows and it is really extraordinary. And how Coppola works with sound and the breathing and the animal noises. It's really film technique at its finest in all of its forms. This film is interesting because it seems like there are a lot of visual effects, and there are. It's just that most of them were done in camera, meaning they weren't added after the matter in post-production. So you'll get a lot of matte paintings and the use of miniatures and layering and double exposures and trick photography and that kind of thing. And it's really, if you love movies and you love the way movies are made, then this is the film for you because, a lot of the old school movie magic is on display here. Roman Coppola, who is Coppola's son, was the visual effects director on this film and really shows a lot of ingenuity in how he and his team were able to produce the effects. And I think that one of the DVDs, not this one, but one of the later DVDs has a chapter in the commentary about how the visual effects were achieved, so that might be worth checking out. But Coppola, for his part, is almost like a movie nerd in a candy store with this one. I mean, just what he's throwing at the viewer in terms of technique. And the way he, for instance, plays with film stock. There's a sequence in the film that looks like it was shot on newsreel, like a newsreel from the late 1800s. The way he plays with film speeds and the acceleration and the slowing down of film speeds to achieve, a fast motion and a slow motion effect. And, he really is almost like the master in control of his medium in this instance, which of course he is because he's Coppola. There are two sequences that I want to draw particular attention to just because I think they're incredible moments in the film. The first is the opening prologue where Vlad goes and fights in the war and comes back only to find that his beloved Elisabetta has committed suicide, having been misinformed that Vlad had died in the war. And this, of course, sets up Dracula's renouncing of God and his eternal quest to find his beloved. And it is just the way the scene is staged with a lot of silhouettes and it's really just gorgeous, and so the fiery color palette, and I mean, it really is a beautiful way to open the film and really sets up Dracula's motivation. The second is probably one of my most favorite film sequences in current films, and it is the sequence where the Sadie Frost character, Lucy, who is the Mina character, who's played by Winona Ryder, her best friend, when she dies. Now, Lucy has become kind of a minion of Dracula at this point in the film. And after Mina just sort of blows off her clandestine budding romance with Dracula, and gone off to marry her fiance, Jonathan Harker, the Keanu Reeves character. Dracula is he just loses it and goes into this frenzy, and he just goes and seduces Lucy, and it's almost like this orgiastic rampage of violence and blood and lust and pain and anger and loss, and it all culminates in two explosions of blood from each side of the frame, and it's just a mind-blowing sequence that is the perfect crescendo to Dracula's intense emotional state at this point, and it's just unbelievable. And I think about that scene often just because of how beautifully it's done. So Gary Oldman, of course, is amazing in this film, and his portrayal of Dracula has gone down in history as one of the more legendary portrayals. The scene where he licks the razor from Keanu Reeves's takes Keanu Reeves's blood after he cuts himself shaving, that kind of thing, that have gone down into sort of pop culture lore. But he and Winona Ryder in this film, they try, but they don't really have a lot of chemistry. It's not terrible and it's not distracting because everything else in the movie is so good, but it's noticeable. They just don't have a lot of chemistry. What can I say? Speaking of Ryder, this film is kind of notorious because she and Keanu Reeves had some trouble with the English accents. And while Ryder's isn't so bad, Keanu Reeves, I said it before in a couple episodes ago when I was discussing The Devil's Advocate, bless his heart, he's a great actor, and he's got a lot of wonderful qualities as an actor that come out on screen. Accents is not one of them. He should just really just stay away from accents. There's just choose roles where you don't need to work with a dialect coach, or you just don't. Just save yourself the trouble. But he tries, but it's just don't do it. But that's all I have for Bram Stoker's Dracula. One of my favorite movies from Francis Ford Coppola from 1992. If you are, it's Dracula, so there's, blood and nudity and sex, and, so take that into account. But it's a gorgeous film, and the costumes and everything about it is just perfectly mounted. And it's a great visual feast for the eyes. So if you love movies and you love the way movies are made and you love movie magic and all that sort of stuff, this film is definitely for you. I'm not sure what I'm going to watch next, but we'll see. And when the time comes, I will let you know, of course. And until then, be good to each other and be safe.